this very movement seems to contain the whole. Welcome to Reflective Minds. This is your host Monica. Today we are going to discuss chapter 3, Thinking Fourth Dimensionally, from the book 5 Lessons, and the chapter is named as Thinking Fourth Dimensionally. There are two actual outlooks on the world possessed by every man, and the ancient storytellers were fully conscious of these two outlooks. They called the one the carnal mind and the other the mind of Christ. We recognize these two centers of the thought in a statement: the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. To the natural mind, reality is confined to the instant called now. This is very movement seems to contain the whole of the reality. Everything else is unreal. To the natural mind, the past and the future are purely imaginary. In other words, my past, when I use the natural mind, is only a memory image of the things that were. And to the limited focus of the carnal or the natural mind, the future does not exist. The natural mind does not believe that it could revisit the past and see it as something that is present, something that is objective itself. Neither does it believe that the future exists. To the Christ mind, the spiritual mind, which our language we will call the fourth dimensional focus, the past, the present, and the future of the natural mind are a present whole. It takes in the entire area of the sensory impressions that the man has encountered, in encountering, and will encounter. The only reason you and I are functioning as we are today and are not aware of the greater outlook is simply because we are creatures of the habit, and the habit renders us totally blind to what otherwise we should use. But the habit is not law. It acts as though it were the most compelling force in the world, yet it is not the law. We can create new approach to the life if you and I would spend a few minutes every day in withdrawing our attention from the region of the sensation and concentrating it on the invisible state, and remain faithful to the contemplation, feeling, and sensing the reality of the invisible state. We would in time become aware of this greater world, this dimensionally larger world. The state contemplated is now concrete reality displaced in time. Tonight, as we turn to our Bible, you be the judge as to where you stand in your own present unfoldment. Our story for tonight is from the 5th chapter of the Gospel of the Mark. In this chapter, there are 3 stories told as though they were separate experiences of dominant characters. In the first story, we are told that Jesus came upon an insane man, a naked man who lived in a cemetery and hid himself behind the tombs. This man appealed to the Jesus not to cast out of the devils that bedeviled him, but the Jesus said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. Thus the Jesus cast out the devils that they may now destroy themselves, and we find this man for the first time clothed and in his right mind and seated at the feet of the Master. We will get the psychological sense of this chapter by changing the name of the Jesus to the enlightened reasons for the fourth dimensional thinking. As we progress in this chapter, we are told that the Jesus now comes upon the high priest, whose name is Jairus. The Jairus and the high priest of the has a child who is dying. She is 12 years old, and he appeals to Jesus to come and heal the child. The Jesus consents, and as he starts towards the home of the high priest, a woman in the marketplace touched his garment, and the Jesus, immediately knowing in himself the virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my cloth? The woman who was healed of an issue of the blood that she had since the 12 years of age confessed that she had touched him, and he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith had made thy whole. Go in the peace. As he continues towards the home, the high priest, he is told that the go to resurrect her. She is no longer asleep, but is now dead. As soon as the Jesus heard the words that was spoken, he said unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. And when he was come in and said, Why make you this and weep? The damsel is not dead but slept. With the entire crowd mocked and laughed, Jesus, closing the doors against the mocking crowd, took him into the household, his disciples, and the father and the mother of the dead child. They entered into the room where the damsel was lying, and he took the damsel by the hand and said unto her, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. From the deep sleep she awoke and rose and walked, and the high priest and all the others were astonished. And he cheating or a dead past. If you are a living among the dead, your prejudices, your superstitions, and your false belief that you keep alive are the tombstones behind which you hide. If you refuse to let them go, you are just as mad as the madman of the Bible who pleaded with the enlightened reasons not to cast them out. There is no difference, but enlightened reasons is incapable of protecting prejudice and the superstitions against the inroads of the reason. There is not a man in this world who had a prejudice, regardless of the nature of the prejudice, who can hold it up to the light of the reason. Tell me, you are against a certain nation, a certain race, or a certain ism, a certain anything. I do not care what it is. You cannot expose the belief of yours to the light of a reason and have it live. In order that it may be kept alive in your world, you must hide it from the reason. You cannot analyze it in the light of the reason and have it alive yet. When this fourth dimensional focus comes and shows you and all these things that bedeviled you, you are then cleansed and clothed in your right mind, and you sit at the foot of the understanding called the feet of Master. Now, clothed and in your right mind, you can resurrect excuse me, resurrect the dead. Excuse me. What died? The child in the story is what died? The child in the story is not a child. The child is your ambition, your desire, the unfulfilled dreams of your heart. This is the child housed within the mind of man. For as I have stated, before the entire drama, before the entire drama of the Bible is psychological one. The Bible has no reference at all to any person who ever existed or any event that ever occurred upon the earth. All the stories of Bible unfold in the minds of the individual man. In this story, Jesus is awakened intellect of a man. When your mind functions outside of the range of your present senses, when your mind is healed of all the former limitations, then you are no longer this insane man, but you are this presence personified as Jesus, the power that can resurrect the longings of the heart of a man. You are now the woman with the issues of blood. What is the issue of the blood? A running womb is not a productive womb. She held it for 12 years. She was incapable of conceiving. She could not give form to her longing because of running of the issue of the blood. You are told her faith closed it. As the womb closes, it can give form to the seed or idea. As your mind is cleansed of the former concept of the self, you assume you are what you want to be, and remaining faithful to this assumption, you give form to your assumption on resurrect your child. You are the woman cleansed of the issue of blood. You move towards the house of dead child. The child or the state you desired is now your fixed concept of yourself. But now, having assumed that I am what formerly I desired to be, I cannot continue desiring what I am conscious of being. So I do not discuss it. I talk to no one concerning what I am. It is so obvious to me that I am what I wanted to be, that I walk as though I were. Walking as though not see it and thinks I no longer desire it. The child is dead within their world, but I who know the law say the child is not dead. The damsel is not dead, but she slept. I now awaken her. I by my assumption awaken and make visible in my world what I assume for the assumption if sustained invariably awaken what they affirm. I close the door. What door? The door of my sense. I simply shut out completely all that my senses reveal. I deny the evidence of my senses. I suspend the limited reason of the natural man and walk in this bold assertion that I am what my senses deny. With the door of my sense closed, what do I take into the disciplined state? I take no one into that state but the parents of the child and my disciples. I close the door against the mocking, laughing crowd. I no longer look for the confirmation. I completely deny the evidences of my senses which mock my assumption and do not discuss with others whether my assumption is possible or not. Who are the parents? We have discovered that the father, mother of all the creations is the man. I amness, the man's consciousness is God. I am conscious of the state. I am the father, mother of all. My idea and my mind remains faithful to this new concept of self. My mind is disciplined. I take into that state of disciples and I shut out of the state everything that would deny it. Now the child, unaided by a man, is resurrected. The condition which I desired and assumed that I had become objectified within my world and bears witness to the power of my assumption. Judge. I cannot judge you. You are either living now or dead in the past, or you are living as a woman whose issues of blood has been stanched. Could you actually answer me if I ask you the question? Do you believe now that you, without the assistance of another, need only assume that you are what you want to be to make that assumption real with your world? Or do you believe that you must first fulfill the certain by the past, that you must be a certain order or certain something? I am not being critical of the certain churches or the groups, but there are those who believe that anyone outside of their church or the group is not yet saved. I was born as a Protestant. You talk to the Protestant, there's only one Christian. A Protestant, you talk to the Catholic, why there is nothing in the world that is Christian but the Catholic. You talk to a Jew and the Christians are Athens and the Jews are the chosen. You talk to of these stories. I say, come out of the dead past, come out of the cemetery and walk knowing that and your Father who men call God is your own consciousness. That is your only creative law in the world. Of what are your consciousness of being? Although you cannot see your objective with the limited focus of your three-dimensional mind, you are now that which you have assumed you are. Walk in that assumption and remain faithful to it. Time in this dimension of your being beats slowly, and you may not even after you objectify your assumption. Remember, there was a time when this present reality was but an attitude of the mind. Because of the slowness of the beat of the time here, you often fail to see the relationship between your inner nature and the outer world bears the witness to it. You be the judge of this position you now occupy in the 5th chapter of the Mark. Are you resurrecting the dead child? Are you still in the need of having the womb of the mind closed? Is it still running and therefore cannot be fertile? Are you now the insane man living in the dead past? Only you can be the judge and answer these questions. Now, we turn to the story of 5th chapter Gospel of the John. This will show you how beautifully the ancient storytellers told the two distinct outlooks on this world, one of the limited three-dimensional focus and other of the four-dimensional focus. This story tells an important man who is quickly healed. Jesus comes to the place called the Bethesda, which by the definition means the house of the 5 porches. On these 5 porches are the unnumbered important folk, lame, blind, halt, withered, and others. Tradition had it that at a certain season of the year an angel would descend and disturb the pool which was near these 5 porches. As the angels disturbed the pool, the first one in was always healed, but only the first, not the second. Jesus, seeing a man who was lame from his mother's womb, said to him, wilt thou be made whole? The important man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool, but while I am coming, another stepped down before me. Jesus said unto him, Rise, take up thy bed and walk. And immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked, and on the same day was Sabbath. You read this story and you think some strange man who possessed the miraculous power, suddenly said to the lame man, "Rise and walk." I cannot repeat too often that the story, even when it introduces numberless individualities, individualities take place within the mind of the individual man. The pool is your consciousness, the angel is an idea called messenger of the god. Consciousness being the god, when you have an idea, you are entertaining an angel. The minute you are conscious of your desire, your pool has been disturbed. Desire disturbs the mind of man. To want something is to be disturbed. The very moment you have an ambition or a clearly defined objective, the pool has been disturbed by the angel, which was desire. You are told that first one onto the disturbed pool is always healed. My closest companions in the world, my wife and my little girl, are to me when I address them. Second, I must speak to my wife as you are. I must speak to anyone, no matter how close they are, as you are. And after that third person, he is. There is only one person in this world with whom I can use the first person present, and that is self. I am can be said only of myself, it cannot be said of another. Therefore, when I am conscious of something, some desire that I want to be but seemingly am not, the pool being disturbed. Who can get into the pool before me? I alone possess the power of the first person. I am that which I want to be, except I believe I am what I want to be. I remain as I formerly was and die in the limitation. In this story, you need no man to put you into the pool, as your consciousness is disturbed by the desire. All you need to do is assume you are already that which formerly you wanted to be, and you are in it, and no man can get in before you. What man can get in before you when you become the conscious of being that which you want to be? No one can be before you when you alone possess the power to say I am. These are the two outlooks. You are now what your senses would deny. Are you bold enough to assume that you are already that which you want to be? If you dare assume you are already that which you reason and your senses now deny, then you are in the pool and unaided by men. You too will rise and take your couch and walk. You are told it happened on the Sabbath. Sabbath is the only mystical sense of stillness. When you are unconcerned, when you are not anxious, when you are not looking for the results, knowing that science follows and do not proceed. The Sabbath is the day of stillness, wherein there is no working. When you are not working to make it so, you are in the Sabbath. Sabbath. When you are not at all concerned about the opinions of others, when you walk as though you were, you cannot raise one finger to make it so. You are in Sabbath. I cannot be concerned as to how it will be and still say I am conscious of being it. If I am conscious of being free, secure, healthy and happy, I sustain these states of consciousness or labor on my part. Therefore, I am in Sabbath. And because it was Sabbath, he rose and walked. Our next story is from the 4th chapter of the Gospel John, and it is one you have heard time and time again. Jesus came to the well, and there is a woman called the woman of Samaria, and he said to her, "Give me to drink." Then said the woman of the Samaria unto him, "How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest to drink me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans." Jesus answered and said unto her, "If thou knewest the gift of the God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me the drink, thou wouldn't have asked of him, and he would have given thy living water." The woman, saying that he has nothing with which to draw the water, knowing the well is deep, says, "Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank therefore himself and his children and his cattle?" Jesus answered and said, "Whosoever drink of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drink of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of the water springing up into the everlasting life. Then he tells her all concerning herself and asks her to go and call her husband. She answers and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. The woman, knowing that this to be the truth, goes into the marketplace and tells, Thou, I have met Messiah. They ask her, How do you know you have met the Messiah? Because he told me all the things I have ever done. She replies, Here is focus that takes in the entire past at least, and tells her now concerning the future. Continuing with the story, the disciple comes to the Jesus and say, Master, eat. But he says unto them, I have meat to eat that you know not of. When they speak of the harvest in the 4th month, Jesus replies, Say not yea, they are yet 4 months, and then come harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look unto the fields, for they are white already to harvest. He sees the argument starts between what you want to be and what reasons tell you that you are. The greater you tell you that, if you would dare assume you are already what you want to be, you would become it.